Hey, Gundam Maniacs! Welcome to the Gundam Explained show. This is episode 100, which is pretty awesome. It's been about 2 years I've done this, so today's going to be a pretty fun episode. To start, my co-captain, got Steven. Steven, what's up, man?
Cheers. How y'all doing? Thanks for having me. Congratulations on this huge milestone. Thank you for having me along. I guess, our year anniversary was when we started streaming together was like a couple of weeks ago,
It
right?
was. Yeah, and so that's another big thing. It's like, I think getting to 100 has been helped by you being on the show and me being on yours as
Oh
well,
yeah.
because that's just
It's like
allowing me to,
accountability partners. It's like,
yeah.
hey, are you gonna stream today? Because
I know it's taught me so much that I didn't do before. Like being consistent, learning how to really vocalize, and et cetera, et cetera. But another pivotal part in who we have joining us is Ian. Ian, how's it going, man?
I don't
Yeah,
know who
that's
you're
right.
talking
Yeah.
about. That's not me. I'm not. I'm not Ian. No, appreciate you guys having me on the show. It's really amazing to be here, and you guys have really done a lot for the community, and I appreciate that. It's definitely introduced me to a lot of cool people, and looking forward to seeing what the next year of Gundam Explained and Midnight Hatter looks like.
Yeah. No, and again, like I was saying, you've been pivotal too, because in the early days when I was like first, starting to live stream and like find my footing, you reached out and provided not only an awesome friendship, but also just general support in terms of navigating being online, learning how to create relationships with people online. I think my life and maybe a lot of others has like transitioned, especially due to COVID, where you can't really rely too much on going somewhere and getting these relationships, meeting people. Sometimes you have to go online and spend time online to meet people, and that's kind of different and new for me, especially I guess maybe my age compared to a younger generation. But I've loved it. Getting to know everybody and across these communities.
yeah,
Although I
yeah.
think that's like the C word we don't want to use, right, Steven?
Well, hey, yeah. Well, and I was just about to say, I mean, especially in like a geek community, like something like Gundam, me coming from like the tabletop gaming space, COVID pretty much decimated all types of
Yeah,
in-person tabletop gaming, and especially like game stores, your Games Workshop type places.
right.
You like you didn't have that place where you can get together and play games. So it's like, well, I guess we're gonna go online and um
Yeah, that's a very good point, because being not part of that tabletop community, that was still a very physical way to like meet and talk with people. And so I can see where COVID kind of made that tough for a
Yeah,
lot of
yeah,
people.
for sure. So, I
Yeah.
mean, it's good that you and I are hopefully providing a space where people can get into Gundam and learn about things and enjoy everything in a mostly positive way.
Yeah, exactly, right. We want to kind of weed out that toxicity, but we got to make fun every once in a while.
Yeah.
But also, thanks for everyone in the chat. And again, the chat has been pivotal this whole time. So Robert, first one to jump into chat, also the one that introduced Steven and I.
Yeah, we would be remiss if we didn't bring that up. That
Exactly.
Robert linked us up and the rest is history.
I know. Yeah, I know it's crazy. It's like Robert knew. Robert like knew what to do, and that's pretty awesome. But in the chat also we have Gundam Wing. Let's see, Fabian Reyes. Good to see you, Goose. Good to see you, WebFox 100, Zionic Shadow, Travis Wildlow. So yeah, good to see everybody.
Yeah.
Um, and and to Johnny Tacoma. Good to see you too. And to let you guys know, so I'm going to be doing a giveaway. It's going to be a high grade aerial. So if anyone's interested in that, all you have to do is comment on this video. If you're unaware, I have the other Witch from Mercury video earlier this week. That's also another giveaway, and that's Voodoo GTR provided me a Gundam base Zeta 3. So that is also going to be
Ooh.
given away as well. So all you have to do is comment on the videos, and I'll just do my normal thing where I'll do a video that I run that randomizer where it grabs a comment.
Did you
So
say Zeta 3? I'm just gonna go ahead and leave a comment now if that's
hey, you give it a shot. But
Fair game, right?
what's that?
I said it's fair game, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, fair game. And in fact, I'm glad you brought that up, because anyone could potentially even win both. It could happen. You win the one from the Witch from Mercury video and this. I'm not gonna limit that. That would be funny if that happens. But let's see. Oh, Johnny Tacoma saying, I've been listening to the podcast from episode 1. I'm on 88 now. Wow. Well, thank you, and I apologize if I'm annoying. I don't know. I can't really get people like, I can't even talk to myself that long without being like, okay, Adam, change subject. No. But also check the links in the description for Steven stuff. Again, if you guys don't know, we stream on his page Wednesdays, and that stuff gets deep, like into the hobby, customizing, even gaming, and all that. And Ian has his link down there too, and other supporters like Zionic Shadow, who has been a supporter for a long time as well. So shout out to him. But yeah, so what I want to start with first is I like to talk about what Gundam or Gundam adjacent stuff we've gotten into this past week. For one, there was a G-Watch episode earlier this month with Ian and Tom, and Goose, where we talked about robot spirits. Yeah, I was like, well, Goose doesn't, but actually we got him to buy something, so
we have converted him to the dark side.
And during that episode, I learned about a Stark Jagan from Unicorn that is apparently really rare because it was a P Bandai, and it goes for 300 plus. Now, I was able to find one for under 200. I still think that's a lot, but it was more of, this is something that, yes, I would drop that amount for. So here it is. I mean, everyone knows what it looks like.
Looks really
pretty
good.
Sweet. Yeah. And now I have the Kshatriya, so my plan is to like have them together on the shelf, maybe recreate the thing from Unicorn.
You're gonna need a pair of shears to sort of cut up the
yeah, right.
cut
After
up
I
that poor
spent that much
Jagan.
on this. Actually, that's where the model kit would come in. So
Right.
actually, good call on that. Actually, I can make like a multi-stage diorama. Actually, I like that idea.
That'd be the way to do it. I don't know if I could fully endorse taking a $300 robot spirits and totally butchering it.
No.
Even if you did put LEDs in it.
Yeah, exactly. Although that's actually an awesome idea too. Totally getting into that. So yeah, if you haven't watched that video from yesterday, Nano LEDs for Gunpla, that's Midnight Hatter's channel.
Episode.
Yeah. The other thing I got to this week was there's these GMs I bought a while back, and I just haven't gotten to finishing up. I did some very light weathering. I also bought some decals off of eBay. Now, I did find what's the cheapest GM decals, and they aren't the best quality. It's interesting. The water slide sheet was like a single water slide decal. So a lot of times what's nice about the water slides is as you cut them out and put them in, there's still the cardboard you can hold on to with the tweezers and then use the Q-tip to slide off the decal. The whole thing is a decal. So it's a little cumbersome. But I customized 3 of these. So there's 3. And then I have one that's more of like it's not customized, but it's just like the perfect version, I guess, where it's just all straight.
Now, what weathering technique did you use? Did you use like one of these bad boys, the little like Tamiya?
What I did was it was Tamiya paint. Now, this is like super bright, so I don't know if it's like really helping show it. Basically, I got just the flat gray, and then I put it on paper towel to get its consistency less watery, put it on a dry brush, and just kind of tapped at it along the edges.
There you go.
I would then go back with a toothpick to clean it up even more, just to kind of give it a more like refined, limited look.
Nice.
And I don't know if it's personal opinion, but when it comes to like panel lining, I don't like it too much. Whether it really depends what it calls for, but I like to keep it a little minimal.
Agreed.
Yeah. And then also what the video from yesterday was about. I got the other GMG. This one was the Amuro and Fraubo set. Came with the buggy and then a Federation female white base crew member. It's not really a soldier. It's like crew.
Yeah.
Outfit, which is pretty cool.
Like the white base equivalent of a red shirt. You know,
Oh
it's
yeah, that's right. That's
crewman
actually
number 6,
that's a
the
good way to
away
do.
team member that doesn't come back.
Yeah. Um, and then lastly, a local comic book shop happened to have some robot spirits on clearance, and I can't pass up seeing these locally. And then so I got another type JC. You can never have enough Zaku's, to be honest. Because I
Amen.
even bought an additional ground Gundam. I even have the high grade version altogether. So need more. But Steven, anything you got yourself into this week?
So hopefully, I've got after this, I'll be editing the video, but I, finished the sort of mini diorama where we wired together some of these nano LEDs with some magnets. And so basically, you've got these little, this isn't one of them, but, these little 1/400 scale Gashapon figures, has positive and negative leads in the feet. And you just connect it to this little stand and lights up the LED that's in the head. I'm pretty proud of it. I think that they turned out really well. And of course, yesterday we started doing the same thing, but to a high grade Zaku, which I did manage to repair the pegs
Awesome.
that we broke off on stream. That's one of my favorite parts about doing this live is that when you watch like a curated YouTube video of somebody customizing their Gunpla, you're like, man, this guy's perfect. Just everything looks so immaculate. But then you watch a stream with Adam and I, and you're like, did he seriously just break off the command horn of that Zaku? Like, I'm like, it's okay, we'll fix it later.
No, that's
but yeah, I mean, it's coming together nicely. We just need to thread this other wire through, and then we're gonna solder some magnets to the feet. Do the same thing. I'm gonna,
awesome.
basically have like a little hanger diorama that you can light up this Zaku by sticking it on there.
That's awesome. I can't wait for the finished thing. That's what's cool about your videos is a lot of times it's like a continuation. What is the next step?
Yeah, always
know.
evolving. Like
Yeah.
let's take one concept and then combine it with other things. So that'll be a 2-part video. That's
Sweet.
hopefully the first part will drop tomorrow, and then yeah, we'll
That's
see what we
cool.
can do.
Yeah, because this weekend I want to start. I was telling you, I'm buying those nano light LEDs to start doing that. So that video will help.
Yeah, I am happy to share that resource with everybody. That was like a huge find for me. It's a game
Yeah.
changer for
Yeah.
Gunpla customization because they're cheap, they're easy to work with.
Yeah. Well, cool. So Ian, what have you been up to lately?
Oh man. So I haven't gotten anything really new in the last. Well, okay, that's a lie. I did get some new stuff, but it just wasn't Gundam related.
No, that's okay. We're
Gundam
curious.
adjacent.
Yeah.
No, well, I mean, do you count Tokusatsu as
Yeah.
Gundam adjacent?
Sure. Yeah. Especially
I'll give
since
it
you're
to
the
you.
guest.
I'll allow it.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, thank
Steven
you.
allows
I
it. So
appreciate it. Okay, good. Thank you, sires. I appreciate the the allowance. No, I got some Lightning Collection figures actually. They
Oh.
were on sale, and so I was like, okay, I'm gonna get these just because they're like relatively cheap and they're considered deluxe figures. I got them for like $22 a piece. So
Which
it was,
ones were they?
Blue Centurion from Power Rangers Turbo and the In Space Silver Ranger with the space cycle
Oh,
that
I
he
think
comes with.
I think I've seen that. Yeah, that's
Silver
they're-
Ranger's awesome.
Yeah,
What's
I
his
know,
name?
right?
Zane? Was it Zane?
Uh-huh. Yeah. Good memory.
Oh
And-
yeah,
and wasn't
that was
that-
one of my favorite Ranger series. Was the space ones.
And wasn't that where they made that up for the American show? Or am I thinking of something
No,
else?
I think that's a series a couple years later. Actually, I think that's
okay.
Lightspeed Rescue with the Titanium Ranger.
Ah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. Okay. That's
Because
cool.
Zane and Andros were aliens.
Yeah,
Conveniently human looking, just to keep
I'm
production.
pretty sure their planet's name is based off of like a video game or something like that. KO-35.
Oh, well, Andros, that makes me think Star Fox. That's the
Yeah,
name of the
there you go.
villain. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Anything else? Was that about it?
Yeah, that's about it. I still got to get to that Hazel build.
Oh,
Wait,
that's
I
right.
did get the Hazel and the Harududu set, so I
Yeah,
guess
you've
that
got the
would count
metal
as
robot
Gundam.
spirits. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was that right before or after the our G Watch episode.
That was actually like a day after we recorded G Watch. Those showed up in the mail. I was like, dang it! Why couldn't this have shown up on G Watch Day? This would have been perfect to talk about.
Yeah, curious to see what you think, because I feel like that Hazel is like the most premium a Gundam figure can be. It's metal. It's, you know, a badass design.
It's really good. It's a good figure. Mine seemed to be sealed, even though because I got it off of Ami Ami, so
Oh yeah.
you know that seemed to be sealed. But it was really good condition overall, and I like it. I haven't put all the parts on it yet, just because I'm like, that I'm kind of like, once I put it in that configuration, I'm probably not going to want to take it out of that configuration just because
Yeah.
of how many parts go into it.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Mhm. That's how I feel
So,
about
yeah.
transforming kits.
Yeah.
It's like
Mhm.
once it's transformed, I'm like, I don't want to.
You know, the best one I came across, and this was actually Ian getting me to get it. It was that Wing Zero, the metal robot spirits, and that transformation is actually awesome. Like, I was surprised,
Mhm.
like, because correct me if I'm wrong, Ian, but it doesn't even have any parts transform. It's like simply it just transforms.
Yeah, so the original release was a parts former. You had to change out the chest and the legs in order to put it into the Neo Bird mode. And then with the metal version, you don't have to do that. It's literally twist, and the legs have a component where you just lift up the flaps and you stick the feet in there, and it's really nice.
Yeah,
That's smooth.
I like that stuff when there's transforming. That's pretty simple, and it's funny because I haven't even transformed my Zeta Verka yet, and I have it, I think, right back there.
Ooh.
I need to transform it, but I also need to put the decals on it.
Yeah.
Well, Ian, let me ask you, because I know we've talked about this on our G Watch, which is the exclusive podcast for supporters, but for those that haven't, how did you get into Gundam initially?
I would say my origin story is very similar to a lot of people, where I grew up watching it on Toonami when Gundam Wing first came out, and it just kind of became one of my favorite shows right off the bat, And then I didn't really know what UC was until much later on. I just kind of was like, okay, this Gundam story is much different than this other Gundam story I just watched, and I was just happy for more Gundam, actually, to be honest with you. That was kind of how
That's
it was
cool.
back in the day. And I was actually having a conversation with Talos yesterday. Shout out to Lord Mobius
Oh.
on Discord, the Lord and Savior of GBO2.
Yeah, exactly.
He and I are pretty much on the same page, where we're just lovers of Gundam overall. We don't necessarily have to have like a favorite series. Like I just seem to kind of like them all for the most part. Do I have my criticisms like anybody else? Sure, but I would say that UC has grown on me in the last year, and that's actually thanks to you and Steven. And
Cool.
Zeta is probably the best series in UC.
Yeah,
Yes, it
that's
is.
right.
Trying not to get kicked off the podcast already.
No.
Well, and it's funny that you mentioned that, like, when other series started coming out, you just kind of accepted them as, okay, this is still Gundam. When I feel like when you're younger, when you're maybe, adolescent, teenage years, you really don't get kind of bogged down in the minutia of canon and timelines and stuff like that. It's really when you're in your 20s and 30s you start trying to make sense of the world and everything. Because I was the same as you, as when the different Zoids shows came on
Mhm.
Toonami, I was like, okay, I don't really know what the difference is between Chaotic Century and the other one. Like, I know that I like Chaotic Century more, but it's like, I just accept that there's different versions of Zoids, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm the same way. Like when Chaotic Century versus I think the one with the Blade Liger. I think that's technically in Japan. In Japan, that's like the first one, but then Chaotic Century was the second one or something like that.
Maybe.
Whatever
Your guess is as good
somebody
as
will
mine.
correct me in the comments, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was like, it's confusing to go from one series to another when you're like, wait, these are the same machines or these are the same things, but it's different stories. Like, what's happening?
Yeah.
No, that's cool. And shout out to Mexico. I see Adrian from Mexico that's watching this. That's awesome. But
Hey.
Steven, that's a neat thing you brought up because as kids, I think, and then relating to it as we see canon and storytelling, I think that's a very important thing you're not bringing up because I always relate to as we get older, we allow layers of judgment to sort of factor in what we like or don't like without even having a rational around it. It's just kind of like whatever. Because I remember as a kid in the 80s, there were 2 Ghostbusters cartoons. One was called The Real Ghostbusters, and the other one was just called Ghostbusters, and it had a gorilla that was fighting ghosts. And for me, I just liked that there were multiple Ghostbuster shows. I wasn't like, okay, is this technically canon that they have a gorilla and he wasn't in the movie? So.
Well, and I think that as a kid, your imagination is a little freer. I mean, I remember when I was a kid, I had like an Iron Man action figure, a Mega Man action figure, a couple of Power Rangers, a Princess Jasmine. Obviously, I was one of those kids that crushed on Princess Jasmine, but I would play with them all together and have stories. I never was bound by this. Well, Iron Man can't, save Princess Jasmine from this tiger because it doesn't make sense. It's like, no, it's you. This was before Toy Story even, and I was like, I would feel nervous that my toys would not that they would know that I'm not playing with them and then get upset. So I was one of those like people that anthropomorphized their action figures. So
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. That reminds me when I'd play with my son, he would want to play with the Gundams, and I would have to supervise. So that would be me, playing with him. And I'd be like, yeah, pick what you want. He's like, that one and that one's like, well, they didn't really exist at the same time.
Right. So you can't have the Nether Gundam and the ground type because they're not in the same universe. Let me go get you a Zaku real quick.
But that's what helped me kind of step back. So kids put things in perspective all the time. That helped me step back and be like, who cares? This gives me a good reason to not do things in canon and have the GP01 and the RX-78-2 side by side in battle.
Like Dynasty Warrior Gundam is a perfect example if we're going to talk about video games, of canon not really mattering in those kinds of scenarios. It's just about having fun, right? And kids personify that innocence of like, who cares about what the story is? I'm making up my own story right here, right now,
Yeah, and I wonder if that leads to when we get to a certain age, and I don't know what this phenomenon is, but it's just me or whatever. It's like, I think I went pretty late playing with my action figures. I remember it had to have been 96, whenever ID4 came out, and I had the alien ship.
Oh, yeah.
But then I was like, I can't play with it. I was like, It was a little bit after, actually, 96, 97. It was after the first wave of the Star Wars figures came out again. And I got them. Yeah, and then after a while, I was like, but I would still buy them, but I wouldn't play. And I think it's that mind kind of shifting to where it, maybe tries to, like you're saying, make sense of things. But so when you were watching on Toonami, did you happen to buy any collectibles from Gundam?
Yeah, so I was still like, let me see here. And Steven, maybe you can help me out here because I always get like the dates mixed up. But I want to say Gundam came out like around 97, 98 for Gundam Wing, right?
Wing was 95.
95. Holy crap, I was 5 years old.
In Japan. So when it came out in the US,
Japan, that's true.
Was it
so like on Toonami, I want to say it was like 97, 98, something like that, somewhere around there.
Yeah, there could have been a pretty strong delay there. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. So I remember it was the later 90s. That's like what I remember. And I used to get the Mobile Suit in Action figures.
Oh, cool.
Those are great.
Yeah, my dad used to get mad at me because I would display the figures on like top of my dresser or something like that, and then kind of like the whole battles that I would try and imagine to come up with, and come up with along the way. And he'd be like, no, put that stuff away.
Real quick, I want to say something to that. That sparked a memory. I was 5 when we moved into a new house, and we were putting my room together, and we put the bookshelf up. And on the bookshelf, I was standing up my Ghostbusters, like displaying them. And my mom was like, "Oh no, you don't do that. Those go in the toy box." I think that's kind of a weird thing how we, as young people, just concluded to displaying our figures. But that wasn't a thing a generation ago. You know,
It
I
was our
find that
destiny.
interesting.
I am ashamed that your parents stifled that instinct in you, because what my parents did is I would have my toys and model kits displayed on my desk, and they were like, well, you need to do your homework on your desk, so we're gonna buy you a shelf to put your toys on.
That's cool.
So
Good job, Steven's parents.
It went away. No, that idea I think went away later when that was my thing. I remember there would be Christmases where my parents were like, "Just don't ask for toys," because I would always ask for, and then it was where I would always ask for video games. So then after a while, they were like, "Well, how about some other than video games?" So I was like, "All right." I mean, I wasn't spoiled, but I kind of got what I wanted. So they were probably trying to stop this addiction I have nowadays, and it didn't work.
Well, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like the overbearing parent. Once the kid goes away to college, they're gonna be crazy, and
Yeah.
so it's like you gotta do a little bit of there's a little bit of give and take there.
Yeah, for sure. Did
Can I
you
ask a
feel any
question
of
real
that,
quick?
Ian?
A little bit, but so I have a question to kind of follow up to that real quick.
Yeah.
Like, more so for you, Adam, because Steven got free reign and got to display his stuff on the walls and all of that. But were your parents collectors of anything? Because my dad was a collector of certain things. So and I feel like we could talk about this probably off air more, but he was a collector of certain things and he wanted to display his stuff, but Ian could display his toys and what he liked. So was that a thing for you when you were growing up, like your parents being into things?
Once I got a little older, and I mean, this is even before 10, that whole thing about displaying on my bookshelf kind of went away. I just think that was a weird thing, that generational thing. But while my dad wasn't necessarily a collector, to our degree, he would get cool things. Like he always had like a Darth Vader statue on his desk. He even he would get Predator stuff because he liked Predator. Other than that, that's funny. He was more into computers. I mean, he had computers as early as I can remember, and it was more of that. He was always doing things with electronics, computers. But yeah, it's almost like we're the same. I'm just expressing it materially in the world, where he just more kept it, inside.
That's fair.
Yeah, and I think over time, I think my parents embraced it, because I remember even when I lived on my own, for Valentine's Day, my mom would buy me like a McFarlane figure. She didn't know what I wanted. She was like, "Well, I know you collect stuff. Here's a zombie samurai. Seems like something you would like." And I'm like, "Yeah, actually." Nah. But anyway, so yeah. So you were getting the MSIA stuff, and then did you always like Gundam, or did you? Okay, so you've always, even playing the games as they would come out.
Yeah. I didn't play all the games. I started off with Gundam Battle Assault 2. I think that was my first Gundam game on PS1. And then I had Gundam Journey to Jaburo, and then Dynasty Warriors Gundam came out, and I was like, oh my God, this is my game right here.
That's cool. That's cool. Did you ever play that Rise from the Ashes on Dreamcast or whatever?
No, I knew somebody who had a Dreamcast, but I never played that game. I don't think he ever had that game. I didn't really get a console until PlayStation 2, even though I had a Sega Genesis, but my dad had that for ever, I guess.
And I don't even think there was Gundam games on for the American Genesis releases. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Which is crazy to think, because everything else had it. I guess more in Japan. These games come out anyway. When did you get into the Robot Spirits? Was it did you notice as they released them, when they were first coming out, or was it a little later?
So I started collecting again in late 2012, early 2013, and
cool.
I was like, okay, I want to get some Gundam figures, I wonder if those even exist still, right? Because I wasn't keeping up with toy collecting or anything like that.
So you were still looking for the MSIA.
Yeah, like I looked for MSIA and I came across like Robot Spirits, and Wing Zero had just come out coincidentally. And I never had the TV version of Wing Zero. I wanted a TV version of Wing Zero because I had the Endless Waltz version from MSIA. So
Yeah.
I wanted the TV version, and they had just released the Robot Spirits one. And so I had gone to a convention and I had found it because back in 2013, Amazon was still kind of like an iffy thing for me. Like, buying
Mm.
online was still kind of like newish at that point, right? It wasn't like now where I'm like, all right, Amazon, here we go, let's do it.
Yeah.
So went to like my first convention. I found that one. I found the original Strike Freedom release and SH Figure Arts Goku
Mm.
coincidentally. And I was like, okay, my childhood has been satisfied,
But like, did
And I
you
was like, I'm not
immediately
collecting
notice?
anything more. I said I'm not collecting anything else. And then
Famous
the
last
rabbit hole
words.
happened.
I know.
Yeah.
So did you immediately notice that these were more the collector grade figures and not the things that you played with when you were a kid?
They were definitely different, but it was kind of like I don't know. It just kind of felt like I could just stick it on a shelf and I'd be okay with it like that. And then as I kind of just got further along, I discovered articulated comic book art through a couple of
Mm.
YouTubers that I had happened to stumble upon to watch like figure reviews and stuff like that. Cause I was like, okay, let me see what this is all about. And so I found that and that's how I got into the action figure photography stuff too. And so it kind of like was a spiral effect, if you will. It just kind of blew up.
Yeah, and so then is that when you like were getting into MOFX and SH Figure Arts? It was like after that part, after that time.
So I was primarily a SH Figure Arts and Robot Spirits collector, and then Mofex didn't happen for me until later. Mofex
Yeah.
has become more prominent for me lately, but I still have like a lot more SH Figure Arts and Robot Spirits than I do Mofex figures.
Oh, you know what? For me, for MOFX, it was when they came out with that Hush Batman that I
Yeah.
was like, wow, this is like, because there's this thing in me that likes Batman. I remember when I was a kid, Batman Returns, buying all those variants of Batman that made no sense. But that Hush one, I was like, wow, this is like the ultimate Batman. And
Hmm.
the wired cape, I was like, wow, this is a premium figure. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
They're amazing.
speaking of the Power Rangers, that was another thing. Once Hasbro got the license and they started coming out with the Lightning Collection, I went and got all the MMPR that I could. The last one I got was the Alpha and Zordon
Hmm.
set. But like, it's cool. Yeah, because I think there was a gap. Once I moved out of my parents' house, I was more about video games and going out with people. And I was just not buying action figures. I was buying G.I. Joes a little bit because they came out with this like Valor versus Venom line that I thought was pretty sick. But other than that, I would maybe buy a Darth Vader here or there,
Hmm.
but I would just not buy action figures until I decided to sell off my video game collection because that physicality didn't have as much to it as an action figure would. So I was like, I can do gaming digital and not miss anything, but it's kind of cool to go back into action figures.
Yeah.
And were you saying there was kind of a gap for you too, where you stopped and got back into it?
Yeah. So I would say from junior high up until like I was like I said about 22, 23,
Mm.
I wasn't collecting anything really. I did go back and like maybe like I think that was 2012 actually also where I wanted the original Ultra Zord for from Power Rangers, because I was
Oh,
like, oh, I need a Megazord, like I've always wanted that one. And that was also when the Legacy line was coming out too, so it was kind of like that kind of just reignited that,
oh,
and
that's
I
cool.
think it just was dormant in me forever.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, something that kind of triggers it.
Hmm.
But yeah, then I think you reached out to me because was it because of a Robot Spirits video?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
So I found your channel when I was that was when I had found out about the Yokohama Gundam in
Oh,
Japan. They
oh
had
yeah.
that Robot Spirits action figure, and I'd seen it on Ami Ami coincidentally. And I was like, let me go look and see like if there's any reviews on this thing because I'm like, you know, an RX-78 too, and in a different like look, that would be kind of cool to have, and I like the fact that it had that chain, that base
Base,
around it
yeah.
to kind of house it. And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna go and look into this, and that's how I found your channel. And then I found your Discord from the link and all of that in the description down below.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I just put two and two together because didn't I gift you that Gundam?
And you
Not
did.
even realizing that it was that video. Wow, the way the universe works, the synchronicities. that's
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
really cool.
I have it. It's a really good figure, and thank you again for that. That
Hell
was
yeah.
an amazing gift.
Yeah,
So
because
you mentioned. Oh, go ahead.
oh no, I was just gonna say real quick because sometimes I just have too much stuff, and it's
Oh
like
yeah,
sometimes I like to give things to people every once in a while. But
yeah,
yeah, go ahead,
yeah.
Steven.
And no. Well, I was gonna say. I mean, all three of us kind of have a similar collecting philosophy where we're not necessarily tied to collecting entire sets of things, but more just the
Hmm.
ones that we want. And so, Adam, I know that you offload.
Yeah, when I
You kind of
can.
refresh the collection. It's like a
Yeah.
churning motion. But yeah, you mentioned Ian shopping on AmiAmi and watching Adam's review. What do you look for when you're shopping online for a figure? Obviously you want it to be a character or a sculpt or a mobile suit that you really enjoy, but
Hmm.
what are you looking for as far as articulation goes? Maybe condition if it's a secondhand figure. What's kind of your criteria for like, yes, this is a good buy?
Accessories number one. Like I feel like if you're gonna buy something, it should be worth the price. And Adam and I talked about this on that G Watch episode. Shameless plug. Um, about like the price of a figure. What constitutes a good price on a figure? Well, number one, I would say accessories, right? So like the wound wart, I will not be buying right now just because I don't feel like it has enough accessories to it. I think it's a cool design, but I don't think that
For the
it
price.
justifies the cost
Yeah.
of it. So that's number one. Number two, like I guess articulation wise, I would say as long as it's not super limited. Like there's certain ones like you kind of just know that it's going to be a limited articulation set because of how big it is or something like that. Like the full armor double Zeta that I just got not too long ago. Um, it's chonky, right? And we know it's chonky
Yeah.
for a reason. So
Yeah.
I know the articulation's not going to be as limited. So maybe the character, based on the character itself, like is it going to have that articulation that I would see if I'm going to pose it up in a certain way that it's going to have that same impact as if I was watching the show, right?
Yeah.
So
Now,
something like that.
can a figure be over articulated in your view, like the Marvel Legends
Oh,
figures where it's like just everything's a
Mm,
ball joint, and it's just ball joints
good point.
oh,
attached.
that's Regal Tech actually. Regal Tech
Oh
is a
yeah.
no go for me. Like I have one Regal Tech figure. I've actually owned two, but I sold one of them because it was the Regal Tech War Machine.
Oh,
It
that one
had
looks
way too
sick.
much articulation.
Yeah.
And the other one that I have is the Regal Tech All Might, but that's only because I wanted a All Might figure, and all the other ones are just bleh.
Oh. Yeah,
So
that's interesting about the articulation because Steven, yeah, you're right. Sometimes they can be where there's too much where you're just seeing. I even think the GMG figures sometimes are like that, where it's just you're just seeing like the pins, but it's almost one of those concessions where I'm like, that's fine for that. Another thing though, I wonder if you agree, Ian, is the thing with robot spirits are the effect parts. Like having effect parts, I think are just so awesome. I would think Gunpla would come with more effect parts, and that's kind of what leaned me over to robot spirits. There was the Master Grade Origin RX-7802 has effect parts, and that was my second Gunpla. So I was just thinking, oh, effect parts are a thing, but no, I had to go to robot spirits, but I love it. Like, and when Steven, you were talking about like, are there lines? Sometimes we only want to get specific things. I do think the 08 MS Team Robot Spirits line is like one of the only where I would collect all of them because they are just so good. Very anime effect pieces. Even you get the little hover truck, you get the little people.
Oh
It's amazing that they did that.
It's funny you bring that up because I told a couple of friends, like, when they first announced 08th MS Team, like, if they ever did that, like, because we don't know what Bandai's pattern is half the time. They just kind of
Yeah.
were doing stuff, and so you would kind of just hope that they would release something that you would really want, right? But 08th MS Team is probably like my top tier uh, pick if it was to be in an action figure line, and they've done that. My wish has come true for that, right? And
Yeah.
that was the line I said I'm going to collect everything in that line. Can't do that for every line, but that's the line that I'm going to, like, I have to collect everything.
Yeah, and when I remember when I was getting into Robot Spirits, I was getting the Ver anime of 0079, and I was like, man, as cool as these are, I would love to have a ground Gundam. I hope they do that eventually, and they did. Like, you're right. They not only did they do it, but they killed it. That's probably the best line they've come out with, even though other lines are good, like the Stardust Memory ones are awesome.
It gives you a lot of variety. I think that's the thing that this particular line of Robot Spirits has been doing lately. It's giving you a little bit of everything. You get the ground stuff, you get a little bit of the flight stuff with the option part sets, you get the effect parts that come along with it, especially like the dust cloud effects or those
Yeah,
blast effects.
I love that.
The good flight type, I should have that by the end of the month,
Oh,
hopefully, and
that's
I have
cool.
two of
Nice.
those coming.
Oh,
So
dang. Yeah,
yeah, so
the
a
the
little bit of
coolest
everything.
the coolest one is that Alex with the Choban armor because it comes with individual like trails of smoke with the armor pieces at the end that you could just populate all over it, and that's like really awesome for an action
Yeah.
figure.
I love
This is
that.
another example.
That's a lot of attention to detail
Yeah, yeah, I
because
know.
they could have just made like smoke clouds that you clip onto it, but
Yeah, no, they went individual pieces and even larger smoke pieces that have parts to stick in debris flying out. Like it's crazy how much detail they put into that.
Yeah,
But yeah,
it's beautiful. It's amazing. I can't wait to see what they do with Zeta, because I'm pretty sure at this point it's almost expected that they're going to tackle Zeta and double Zeta and
yeah,
just finish off UT.
not just the main suits, but actually go through and give us. They need to update the Mark II. They need to. I mean, they did come out with that metal Zeta, but for a Ver anime line, they could go back to the Zeta, the O. I think there's a lot of like obvious ones that would be awesome. Although
sure.
I will say the Cublay, the Robot Spirits Cublay, is one of the best versions of the Cublay. I'm surprised how good it is. It actually that Robot Spirits figure made me appreciate the Cublay more because of just being able to hold it and like put things on it and be like, wow, this is really good. And it comes with the effect parts with the funnels. So yeah, cool stuff. So I want to ask you some other stuff about Gundam. Like you started with Gundam Wing, but has there been a certain Gundam show or movie that has kind of stand out as your favorite?
Um,
I'm gonna guess 08th MS Team.
OITH MS Team is probably like my favorite one.
That's cool.
In terms of it's short enough where it doesn't overstay its welcome. It kind of just each episode has like a through line to it in some capacity, and then towards the end, like how it's essentially a love story at the end of it too.
Yeah.
Like from beginning to end, it's a love story, even though some might argue it's a rushed love story. But that's the thing about time, right? Like in an anime, you don't really know how much time is passing between these things and how much.
And I think
So
they handled it well.
I think they did too. And just seeing how these ragtag group of people come together and become more like a family and stuff like that, but especially by the end of the series, the OVA, it's amazing. It's a good way to see camaraderie, and I think in a way it mirrors what we have here in this community.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. At the end of the day, I mean, I think a lot of what makes a show good is the interactions, the relationships between the people, especially when you're happy to see. Like I was Zeta. I love like Emma as a character when they introduced her, awesome character, and then the fact that she left the Titans to go to AU, I was like, man, she's even cooler. And just the way she would interact with each person, even with her love story in that, it wasn't like a major deal, but it was just a neat little flavor of her character and the AU captain.
Henkin.
Hinken, yeah.
Yeah.
Like I thought that was a really cool, didn't have to do too much. But then again, I see that in our Discord too, where we get to know each other. We have these inside jokes and the memes. Like I love how Sway started he would just say robot spirits all the time, like just for fun.
Oh, yeah.
And then we started doing the emoji of the robot and the ghost. and then one day I did the metal hands and metal robot spirit. Just little things like that. And then you came up.
That would be a good T-shirt. Would be the metal robot ghost.
Oh my gosh!
The emojis.
I'm stealing that, Steven. Thank you.
Oh yeah.
But
Please do.
Ian, you came up with the gun dabbing, which was pretty cool because you got your robot spirits gun tank, and then you just posted a picture of it dabbing, and then after that, like we just latched onto that. I made an emoji.
Everybody was just in love with it. That one took off really well. I love that.
Yeah.
And Sway is still advertising that, like in every server that he's in that involves like model kits. He's like, "Hey, did you know gun tanks could dab?"
Yeah. That needs to be a shirt some way. I need to get that done, but I just don't want to, and I can't, or I could, but I can't like use the actual photo of a figure and just sell it. I mean,
I think I have an idea for that. We could talk about that off air.
Good.
There we go.
Because I want to offer that up. And then yeah, that emoji robot spirit shirt, that's a good idea, Steven.
Oh yeah.
But I guess, I wonder, are like emoji trademark or something? Can I would I have to just make up them, which would be easy?
I mean, I imagine probably not. I mean, they had that emoji movie, like.
Oh, yeah. It's not like there's big emoji that's like controlling what symbols people can see. That would be kind of weird.
I mean, if there was, it would probably be like a pre-order website, and there'd be scalpers that I don't know. I'm just trying to.
Right?
I'm making a clunky analogy, but
no, that'd be good.
But yeah, no, I agree with you, Ian. I think that 8th MS Team, more than most Gundam series, has individual characters on that team that they each come to it with some personal baggage, and then each of them actually gets their personal baggage resolved by the end of the story, which is almost unheard of.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's even in a way where it's not as depressing as Gundam can get, even though it does have its dark side, to it. Well-rounded show, even though I complain about the noses, the way they draw the characters, but I just got to get over that.
Not to sound too punny, but it's very well grounded.
No, that was good.
There it goes.
That's a good one. No, are there any Gundam shows that you haven't watched yet that you're wanting to eventually get to? Because sometimes, especially when they're long series, it's like, how do you fit that in?
So I haven't seen Victory. I need to watch that. I'm kind of I feel like since I came into Gundam Explained and the Hatter, universe, that I've been going in order of UC. Like, so right now I started rewatching Unicorn the other night.
Oh, nice.
Now that I've kind of seen everything, and I'm getting like you mentioned, I'm getting all those references to things that I wouldn't have paid that close attention to. Like I got certain references watching it the first time, but I was like, wait a minute, I don't remember this reference popping up here. And now I'm seeing it and I'm like, oh my God, this is great. Like I'm getting a new appreciation for Unicorn and just UC as a whole, right? Like,
right.
So I think that's something to appreciate about UC as a whole. Like you just, all of these references eventually come back up in some way, shape or form. And it doesn't matter if it's been 12 years since the 1 year war, or if it's been 20 years, like by the time you get to Hathaway's Flash, right? Like whatever that looks like. So I'm getting a new appreciation for it. So, I've seen obviously F91, the movie thing.
Oh, yeah.
I need to go back and rewatch Stardust Memory, but not in that movie form, because I feel like the movie does a disservice to Stardust Memory.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it really made me hate the pilot. Even I know a lot of people don't like Ko as a pilot, but it really made me hate him as a whole. Like I just don't like him. I can't stand him. The funniest thing about him is Gato.
Well, yeah, it's interesting you bring that up, because I feel like he's not the typical badass pilot like that a lot of times these characters are in a way.
I hate
But-
carrots.
Yeah, but what I loved is when he would refer to Gato, I think is like sir, like because he was like scared, and I liked Gato because it's almost like he noticed that he was like this kid pilot, so he wasn't like being too hard on him, but that was an interesting dynamic of almost the elder mentor and the younger up and coming, even though they were opposite sides. It was like, it reminded me of like World War I dogfighting. Like there was that respect, but then as the world unfolded, they really had to battle each other.
Yeah.
And I love that dynamic, and I think that's almost, and it could be the way it was written, almost underplayed, because that's not something you see a lot in the mecha anime or the Gundam, where it reminds me of the Red Baron. You know how he would destroy the wing for the pilot to go land, but he wouldn't kill the pilot. He'd even land and talk to the pilot of the other side, and I thought that's a cool dynamic.
It is.
Yeah.
So I can't wait to go back and watch that. Age, I haven't seen Age yet.
Oh, I
I
haven't
need to
seen
go
that
and
either.
watch Gundam Age.
Yeah.
Even though I heard that one's really bad. I've only seen one episode of Reconquista NG, so I need to go back and watch that too.
I haven't seen that either. After
I
War,
think that's about. Oh, I need to watch Gundam X. Yeah, I haven't
that
watched
is good. I haven't finished it yet, but I'm right near the end. That it's cool because it is more of a low key story. It's not like overly dramatic or doing crazy things. It's like kind of grounded in a way of like the future. It kind of has that Mad Max feel to it. Yeah, that's. What about Turn A?
Yeah, I was about to make a joke about I need to go and watch that mustache twirling Gundam series.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I haven't finished it because I'm trying to manage it, but I've watched like the first 5 episodes and it's actually really good. It's just like a good show. Like,
Yeah.
even if you're not thinking like things you want in Gundam, it's just the writing, the kind of the relationships between the characters and the world they're in. It's actually really interesting.
Definitely.
Yeah. There was something else I was gonna bring up. Was it about a show? Well, yeah. You told me about another anime, and I haven't watched it yet. I think it came out in mid 2000s, but it was designed or made by the Seed guy.
Oh, Cross Ange.
Yeah, Cross Ange. Yeah, and I got to remember to watch that. But can you give a brief breakdown of like what it's about?
So it's definitely one of those more fan servicey animes in a way, just to give a heads up for anybody who does go to look for it. You can definitely see the Seed inspired designs as far as like the colorings of the suit, the cross silhouettes or something like that. It's been a while since I watched it.
Oh,
so,
like the name of their mobile suits? It's like
Yeah.
Cross something? Okay.
yeah, so they start off as like air bikes or something like that, and then they transform into like a
mech?
mech itself, which
That's
is really cool. And the pilots of these suits are only women. I guess these suits were only designed to be piloted by women. So again, the fan servicey elements and all of that into it. But the main character kind of reminds me of Stella from Seed Destiny. She looks like
interesting.
her.
Oh.
But
Yeah,
maybe a little bit
so-
less mentally disturbed.
Oh, so there's a lot of that in there. So does it remind you of Seed when you're watching it?
No.
Oh, cool.
It only reminds me of like the Seed suits in the sense of the designs, like the colors, like the Villicus, which is the main suit, is definitely inspired by the Freedom.
Okay.
You can see
cool.
that, and the Ryusei Go, I believe is what it's called, is the red suit. So you can see like a freedom and a justice kind of design element to it. But each cross suit has its own like color scheme and design to it, and I think they use guns, but there's no beam weaponry or anything like that. It's swords and
pretty
guns.
neat.
That's it.
Pretty neat. Yeah, I got to check that out because you guys in the Discord have like helped me find new shows that are like actually pretty cool. Like Zeo Rhymer, and then Gunbuster is another pretty good one.
Shout out to Goose, right?
Yeah. What's another anime that you think is a pretty good watch that you don't think gets talked about a lot? at least on our server?
Ooh, I don't know. There's I think the ones that have been talked about so far have been pretty good. I mean, in terms of mech, there's not a whole lot of mech animes out there that I can necessarily sit down and say I recommend this.
Hmm. I guess we've
Uh,
already pretty much recommended them.
there's yeah, kind of. Maybe Aquarion is a cool
Ah,
mech series. There's
you
a
told me
couple
about
of
that.
series
Yeah.
of that. Goose says one of them's not great, and I don't know. I like it enough where I could say, okay, it's watchable. It's not like it's so bad that you can't watch it, right? Like it's just definitely a different take on the Aquarion lore. Like they change it up so
Ah,
that suit design changes at some point. So that
okay.
would be one I would definitely probably recommend to you to watch. Other than that, I think that's about it right now. Maybe Big O. Big O's a good one.
Yeah. That was when I remember being on Adult Swim or Cartoon Network or something, but I never
Yep.
watched it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would
It doesn't
recommend that
feel like an
one.
anime because the animation style almost looks like Batman the Animated Series.
Oh,
It's very noir. It's very noir style. It's in a very noir style. There we go. I could totally use
yeah.
words today.
No,
Um,
that's
and it
interesting.
has like
Yeah.
this dark component to it that I think you would like really like, as far as like almost like a colony drop aspect to it.
Okay. Okay. Kind of that high, like, um, yeah, kind of like a scary real world situation that could occur that kind of affects the characters
In a
and
way.
yeah.
And the suits are not so advanced. I mean, they're advanced, like they have an advanced component to it, but they're not so advanced that they rely on. You don't go to space. It's very grounded in its world
Oh, cool.
and all of that. So I would definitely recommend that one. That's a really good mech anime show if you want to watch something like that.
Well, cool. Yeah. Well, no, that's cool. But yeah, I guess we're getting near time. But before we get done with this show, anything you wanted to bring up? Did you want to plug anything at all?
Sure. So as far as my Instagram stuff, I've been a little bit lax on it lately, but I'm hoping to start getting more back into that again. Streams hopefully will come back at some point. It's just there's too much going on in my personal life right now
Sure.
to stream. Um, but I am hoping to, in the next little bit, I'm not going to put a timeline on it, even though Goose wants me to. That we're going to be starting a podcast called Crack in the Plastic. So stay tuned for
Oh
that.
yeah.
It's going to be like an all around model kit podcast with action figure talk and pop culture stuff. So,
That'll be good.
we'll be giving each other a hard time, talking a bunch of smack and having a good time. So hopefully you guys will tune in for that.
Which you guys are
And I
good
think,
at that. If anyone wants a sneak peek, check out any of the G
Yeah.
watches that feature Ian and Goose. It's pretty hilarious.
yeah, so we're going to be doing that. And hopefully we'll get that off the ground soon. Like I said, just a lot of stuff going on that I'm trying to kind of iron out and get fixed so that way I can do stuff like that. So
Yeah. Well, cool. Well, yeah, in the description, if anyone wants to visit his socials, I have Ian's stuff down there. Yeah, Ian, thanks for being here. I thought this was perfect for me doing this for 2 years, 100 live episodes. You've been a pivotal part of it. I thought it would be great for you to be on this one.
no, it's my pleasure. Glad
No.
to be here, and thank you.
Yeah, no, so, and I guess that just about does it. Steven, anything else I missed? Or I think we're good.
I don't think so. I think we nailed it.
Yeah, we certainly
Good
did.
one.
Well-
no, thank you for joining, Ian. This was a
Yeah.
lot of fun.
No, it was.
Yeah,
It's good to
thanks,
have us
Steven.
three together chatting. Yeah, but
We need
yeah,
to
and
do
thanks
this more
to
often.
yeah, we should. In fact, I do want to plan that. So for those out there that watch this podcast or live show, I want to do it where it's multiple times a month. I have guests because I think that is a lot of fun. It adds, more to it and all that. But yeah, thanks to everyone in the chat too. It's great seeing the chat so active. Remember to leave a comment. It wouldn't be in the chat, but it'd be a comment under the video that enters you in the giveaway for the high grade aerial that I'll be giving away. And then there's that other video with the other giveaway. Also check the supporter stuff. Yeah, YouTube or Patreon where you can watch the G Watch podcast we do exclusively. There's also behind the scenes videos. And then this month I'm going to be releasing a Char's counterattack commentary. Very interested to see what people think about that. But
Sweet.
anyway, that does it. So I'll see y'all later.